Hey everyone, and welcome! Today, we're kicking off an epic adventure into the world of programming. But we're not just learning a language, we're following a map that's designed to turn anyone into a Kotlin developer in just 3 months. So let's get our quest started. So you're ready to become a developer, right? But you look at everything out there, and where do you even begin? It can feel totally overwhelming, I get it. It's a huge world with a million different paths. But what if you had a map? Well, that's exactly what this is. Think of this explainer as your personal adventurer's map. We're going to chart a really clear course, breaking down this huge journey into simple, manageable steps that will take you from writing your very first line of code to building your own application. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll start by gathering our tools. Then, we're going to spend a month forging the basics of the language. In month 2, we'll start putting more complex blocks together. And in month 3, we'll actually launch our own projects. And finally, we'll talk about how to make that leap from learner to a full-fledged developer. Every great quest has to start somewhere, right? And for us, that means getting prepared. Before we even think about writing a single line of Kotlin, we got to get our gear together and read the map. The good news is your starting toolkit is actually pretty simple. First up, you'll need an IDE, an integrated development environment. Just think of it as your digital workshop. We'll be using IntelliJ IDE, which is really the gold standard for Kotlin. Next is Gradle, a build tool that kind of automatically puts all the pieces of your code together into a working app. And for quick little experiments, Kotlin notebooks are perfect for testing out ideas without a full project setup. All right, your very first mission is to dive in and get your hands dirty. In your first week, you're going to install your IDE and set up the JVM, or Java Virtual Machine. The JVM is basically the engine that understands and runs your Kotlin code. And then, you'll complete the rite of passage for every programmer, creating a Hello World project. Trust me, seeing your own code come to life for the first time, it's a truly amazing moment. Okay, our tools are ready to go, so let's dive headfirst into month 1. This is where we learn the grammar of Kotlin, the fundamental rules that make the whole language work. One of the very first concepts you're going to master is variables. And Kotlin has this really smart, simple distinction. You use val for a value that you declare once and never change. Think of it like permanent ink. Then you use var for a variable whose value might need to change later, kind of like writing on a whiteboard. This one little feature helps prevent so many accidental bugs. Just look at this example and you'll see how clean Kotlin's syntax is. We're creating an unchangeable value called language and assigning it the text Kotlin. The next line prints a sentence, and that $sign, that's a string template, a super handy shortcut that just inserts the value of our language variable right into the text. By the end of month 1, take a moment and look over this list. You should be able to check off every single item. From setting up your environment to writing loops and functions that package up your code, these are the absolute cornerstones of programming. You'll have built a really solid foundation. All right, month 1 is in the bag. So what's up for month 2? Well, we've forged our basic tools. Now it's time to learn the powerful laws of Kotlin that make the language so safe and efficient to work with. Okay, this right here, this is a total game changer. You might have heard people talk about the billion-dollar stake in programming. That's the null pointer exception. Well, Kotlin solves this with built-in null safety. The safety harness analogy is perfect. The language itself won't let you fall into this common trap. It actually forces you to think about what happens when data might be missing. You know, people often ask if Kotlin is better than Java, but that's not really the right question. It's more about its modern advantages. Kotlin's code is way more concise. It has that built-in null safety we just discussed, and it simplifies complex background tasks with a feature called coroutines. Best of all, it's fully interoperable, meaning it can work perfectly alongside existing Java code. In month 2, you'll start working with collections of data. And oh man, this is where Kotlin really shines. Instead of writing long, complicated loops, you get to use these simple, powerful functions like the ones you see here. You can use .filter to pick out just the items you need, or .map to transform every item into something new. It's just an incredibly clean way to handle information. Welcome to month 3, and this is absolutely the most exciting part of our journey. This is where we stop doing exercises and we start building real things. This is your first quest as a developer. The key here is to start with projects that are small, but still practical. A command line calculator will really solidify your understanding of logic. A to-do list app will teach you how to manage collections of data. And a basic contact manager, Well, that's going to combine everything you've learned into one complete application. As your apps get more complex, you'll need to do things like download data from the internet without freezing the user interface. That's where core routines come in. This analogy is perfect. They're like assistants you can delegate tasks to. They handle the hard work in the background, which keeps your app feeling responsive and really smooth. Building things also means fixing things. And look, debugging is a skill, not a sign of failure. So I challenge you to try this. Intentionally write a bug and then use your IDE's tools to hunt it down. Setting a breakpoint lets you literally pause your code and inspect everything. It's like being a detective for your own program.
You've made it through the core training. So how do you transition from being a student to being a member of the professional community? Let's talk about joining the guild.
And the first thing to remember is that you are not alone. This number really highlights the power of community. Learning to code doesn't have to be a solo journey. The roadmap.sh community alone has over 47,000 members on Discord. That's a massive network of peers and mentors who are ready to help when you get stuck. Getting involved is simple. Start by sharing your code on GitHub. Join some communities, don't be afraid to ask questions, and as you learn, try to answer questions from people who are just one step behind you. Teaching is one of the best ways to learn. Your GitHub profile is your modern resume. For each of those projects you built in month 3, create a repository. And the most important step here is writing a great README file that explains what the project does and how it works. This shows employers that you can communicate effectively, not just code. This quote from computer science pioneer Alan Kay really captures the spirit of what you're doing. You're not just learning a skill, you're gaining the ability to create things that haven't existed before. You are literally learning how to build your own future. So there it is, your step-by-step adventurer's guide to Kotlin. The path is laid out, the tools are in your hands, and a whole community is waiting for you. The only question left is, what adventure will you choose? What are you going to build first?